Okay, let's get started. Today we're gonna keep working in gouache, and we're gonna have a full palette chock full of colors. So this is the second time I use a palette with 12-13 colors, and the first time I show you this palette, it was in the video where I painted a Norman Rockwell portrait. So it was a master copy, and I'll put the link in the description. So the first thing I did was to lay in my darkest dark in the inside of my helmet or cap or hoodie, whatever you want to call it. Because often at the beginning I like to establish my dark shadows and some of my medium light colors anywhere in the painting, so that I have a range I can move through. Basically, those two are gonna be my limitations, and for the darkest dark I'm gonna use the inside of the cap, while for a light medium light color I've used the top part of the head with the light blue, which is basically all, the same tone of the stain I've laid in earlier. So the way I paint with gouache and also in oil is to describe form with very specific shapes. And especially when painting a portrait is very important for me, so that I can describe the way the volumes are on the features and on the cheekbones and on the jaws. And this actually helps me to make a more realistic painting. For the hair, in this case, we have bangs coming on in front of the face. I have worked my way through the darkest dark, and then I am basically using raw umber and burnt umber and yellow ochre, some white. And then I'm playing with cool and warm to deliver some reflected light. So I'm gonna add a touch of blue, ultramarine blue, to the yellow ochre when I want a colder light, and I'm gonna add a touch of cad yellow when I want it to be a touch warmer. Because basically this portrait is very interesting also because there are not very important shadows on the face and that help us describe the feature, but there are two sources of light which usually make the painting a little bit more complex. So the light that comes from our left, that it's the right part of this portrait, is coming from a window, and it's a cool light because there is a strong reflection of the blue sky outside. The other light comes from the other side, and it's from the inside of the house, and I don't know, I think it's probably a lamp or any kind of artificial light with a very warm yellowish tint to it. Other than that, the lighting on the face is very subtle and transitional, very, very soft, and is a very close-knit painting as far as tones and as far as colors as well, but I have decided to push the colors a little bit more. I like to play with my colors when I have a full palette because I want the painting to look very saturated picture. So imagine I just turned up the saturation in Photoshop in my image. That's what I try to do. I'm still keeping the colors in the range of the realistic, but I'm pushing a little bit more to express myself and show my style. I like my gouache paintings to look a little bit like Tim Burton's movie, where the colors are a touch saturated and kind of from an imaginary world. And I'm painting a friend of mine who is a performer, Ashley, and she is also a mom of 2 toddlers. And just like me, I have a toddler too. We know that reality and imagination begin to melt all together when you spend a lot of time with these little kids. Everything becomes a little bit magical and whimsical, even the everyday stuff. And in this case, I think she expressed this very well wearing one of the kids' outfit. So this space helmet is actually a toy. At the same time, I feel that in nowadays reality, we're becoming more and more involved into digital things, especially with the coronavirus, keeping social distances, and I think that we all are getting very involved into a fantastic world that doesn't really exist, and could be really nice and positive when you fill it with wonderful things, but it can become also a little eerie and disconnected. So I think that with this portrait I wanted to talk a little bit about all of this. At the same time, this portrait is also an excuse to paint some reflections and some reflected light using this helmet. This helmet is actually really cool because there is a silver part and a gold part. So the hat is all wrinkled and it's creating interesting shapes, almost to connect the reality of the face to an outside space, sky that will be filled in a dark color. So technically, how do you paint gold and silver? For the silver, I actually use black and white and blue, and nothing else. For the gold, instead I used black, yellow ochre, and a touch here and there of blue. The darkest darks are actually tinted of green, while the lights are white and lemon yellow. There was this strange but very interesting cold yellow light on the left side of this portrait, and I wanted to push that for the same reason that I explained before. That's why my highlight on the side of the nose is actually basically white and lemon yellow. So the most important thing I want to say when you want to paint gold and silver objects is that you actually have to look at what it is and not what you think it is. So you have to translate those reflections in just shapes and colors and follow them the same way you would paint anything else. So overall, I'm very happy with this portrait. I think it looks good and it delivers the message that I wanted. So I think that even with the jet lag, we were able to pull off a nice painting this week, and hopefully next week I'm gonna feel even better and we're gonna keep going. I have a commission coming up of a dog, so hopefully I'm gonna be able to show you how I do that. So have a great Sunday and bye-bye. See you soon.